The restaurant fell into a terrifying silence as 6 heavily armed bodyguards surrounded billionaire Ethan Caldwell in the center of the dining room. Their faces were cold, their weapons visible, and every customer froze in fear. Plates crashed onto the floor, children hid beneath tables, and employees backed away, believing they were about to witness a tragedy. Ethan stood completely alone, his expensive suit stained with coffee from the chaos, realizing that all the wealth he had spent a lifetime building could not buy him safety in this moment. Then, from the corner of the room, an ordinary waitress with trembling hands took one unexpected step forward, and that single act of courage changed every life inside the restaurant forever. Before the story continues, if you believe kindness is stronger than power and that every person deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel, The Kind Soul. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that inspire millions around the world. Ethan Caldwell was one of the richest businessmen in America. His name appeared in magazines, business journals, and television interviews. People admired his success, but often described him as distant and impossible to approach. Behind the headlines was a lonely man who had sacrificed friendships, family gatherings, and simple happiness while chasing billion-dollar dreams. His luxurious mansion echoed with silence every evening, and despite owning private jets, yachts, and skyscrapers, he often found himself eating dinner alone. Unlike his usual routine, Ethan secretly visited a small neighborhood restaurant every Friday evening. He never announced his arrival and dressed simply enough that few people recognized him. The restaurant reminded him of the place where his late mother had once worked as a waitress before raising him with nothing but honesty and determination. Every visit allowed him to remember the values he had almost forgotten while climbing the ladder of success. Among the restaurant staff was 26-year-old Lily Harper. She worked double shifts every day to support her sick father and younger brother. Her life had never been easy. Medical bills piled higher every month. Rent was overdue, and many nights she skipped meals so her family could eat. Yet every customer received the same warm smile because Lily believed kindness cost nothing, even when life demanded everything. Ethan noticed her during his visits. She never treated wealthy customers better than struggling families. She greeted lonely elderly guests with genuine warmth, quietly paid for meals when homeless veterans came inside hungry, and often stayed after closing to clean without complaint. She reminded Ethan of the compassion his mother had lived by decades earlier. That Friday evening began peacefully until 6 large SUVs suddenly stopped outside the restaurant. 6 armed men entered together, wearing black suits with earpieces. Customers immediately assumed they were security officers protecting someone important, but their expressions told another story. They spread across the room with frightening precision, surrounding Ethan before anyone understood what was happening. Panic exploded throughout the restaurant. Mothers hugged their children. Employees hid behind the kitchen counter. The manager called emergency services with shaking hands. Ethan recognized the leader immediately. Years earlier, he had refused to finance a dangerous international organization involved in illegal business operations. They had lost hundreds of millions because of his decision, and now revenge had finally arrived. The bodyguards demanded Ethan surrender confidential financial files stored inside an encrypted device he carried. They believed those files contained information that could destroy powerful criminal networks connected to corrupt executives around the world. Ethan refused. He understood innocent lives would be endangered if the information disappeared. No one moved. No one dared breathe. Except Lily. As fear overwhelmed everyone else, she remembered something her father had once told her after serving as a firefighter for 25 years. Real courage was never the absence of fear. It was choosing to protect someone despite being terrified. Instead of running away, Lily quietly walked toward the center of the restaurant, carrying nothing more than a serving tray and a pitcher of water. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought everyone could hear it, but she refused to let fear control her. While the armed men focused entirely on Ethan, Lily noticed frightened customers trapped behind them. She realized every second mattered. Without warning, she stumbled intentionally, sending the pitcher crashing across the polished floor. Water spread everywhere, causing 2 armed men to lose their footing. The unexpected distraction created enough confusion for terrified families to escape through the emergency exit. Chairs overturned, alarms sounded, and the restaurant descended into complete chaos. Lily then pulled the restaurant's emergency fire suppression lever. Thick white foam instantly filled the dining room, destroying visibility. The armed men could no longer see Ethan clearly, and their careful formation collapsed within seconds. Ethan used the confusion to shield a young child separated from his parents while helping elderly customers reach safety. Police officers arrived moments later after receiving multiple emergency calls. Unable to coordinate in the heavy foam and surrounded by responding officers, the armed attackers surrendered without firing a single shot. The entire city celebrated Ethan's survival, but Ethan himself could think only about the waitress who had risked everything for someone she barely knew. Reporters flooded the restaurant the next morning expecting dramatic interviews with the billionaire. Instead, Ethan stood beside Lily and publicly declared that she was the true hero. Cameras captured the humble waitress looking embarrassed while trying to return to work as though nothing extraordinary had happened. As journalists learned about Lily's difficult life, the nation discovered the heartbreaking truth behind her smile. Her father urgently needed expensive medical treatment. Her younger brother dreamed of attending college but planned to quit school to support the family. Despite endless hardship, Lily had continued helping strangers every single day. Deeply moved, Ethan quietly paid every outstanding medical bill for Lily's father. He established a scholarship covering her brother's complete education through university. He also created a charitable foundation in his late mother's name, appointing Lily as its first executive director because he believed genuine compassion could never be taught in business schools. The foundation soon helped thousands of struggling families, restaurant workers, veterans, and single parents facing impossible circumstances. Every project reflected Lily's simple belief that one act of kindness could begin a chain of hope reaching people who had almost given up. Months later, Ethan returned to the same restaurant. Nothing about the building had changed, yet everything felt different. Families laughed together, employees smiled more confidently, and a framed photograph hung near the entrance. It showed an ordinary waitress standing beside a grateful billionaire, not because one had saved the other with wealth, but because courage and compassion had united two completely different worlds. Ethan finally understood the lesson his mother had tried to teach him before she passed away. Money could build companies, purchase luxury, and influence markets, but only kindness could rescue hearts. The bravest person in the restaurant had not carried a weapon or worn an expensive suit. She had simply refused to let fear silence her humanity. Before we reach the end of this story, tell us in the comments. If you had been in Lily's place, would you have found the courage to step forward, or would fear have held you back? We'd love to read your thoughts. Stories like this remind us that heroes are rarely the strongest or the richest. They are often ordinary people making extraordinary choices when no one expects them to. Lily never imagined her decision would transform countless lives, but one fearless moment became the beginning of hope for thousands of strangers. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share this video with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to The Kind Soul. Your support encourages us to keep sharing emotional stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Never underestimate the power of one brave heart, because sometimes a single act of kindness can change everything.